Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Colin?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Is this Mr. Jeffery?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
You can call me David.
Okay. Thank you so much for being willing to do this. And
Of course, no problem.
is there? I'm not able to see you.
You're not. Okay. What do you need to do? Okay, let me see here. I don't use Skype very often, so what to
I
do?
think there should be like a camera button uh, down at the bottom. It probably has a
Yeah.
line through it now.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, I'm in a class right now, and it's called Leadership in Ministry. And we were asked to find three individuals who are leadership of their organization, um, of different backgrounds and areas. And when I was talking to my mom about it, she recommended that I talk to you. And so just seeing if you were available, and you were. So thank you so much.
Of course, no problem.
Um, so you just want to jump right into it, or?
Okay.
So if you could start off by saying your name, and the name of your organization, and what position you hold in the organization.
All right. My name is David Jeffrey. I pastor Freedom Church Assembly of God in Thousand Oaks, California. And, okay. And we are a parent affiliated church, so we do have a church, a parent church,
Yeah.
who's over us.
Okay. And then how did you get into this position that you're in now? Where you can start all the way back at your calling, or wherever you want to go to, or how you got into the specific leadership position.
The specific leadership position. I've been here 13 years, and I was on staff. We went to Bethany University in Santa Cruz, California, graduated there in '87. Went to Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena for a while. And when I graduated Fuller, and when I went to Fuller, I had not really considered youth ministry. But last quarter, I'd taken a couple of youth ministry classes. And so I'm graduating. I need a place. I really feel like I'd like to do youth.
Yeah.
So send out a resume, send out letters to every church in Southern California, and I heard from two. Heard from two, and one of them was a real little church in San Fernando, California, and but we ended up spending 5 years there as the youth pastors.
That's awesome.
And it was good. We enjoyed it very so. My wife's job changed where she was interviewing in Thousand Oaks, California, which is just a little ways from San Fernando, about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And we thought, okay, it's too long for a commute. She said, I'm going there just for the interview. I'm not going to do this. But I was working for a grocery store because I was bivocation. I wasn't full-time as a youth pastor. And the interview went well for her job, for a law office. And she said, the new grocery store, the chain I was working for, Bristol Farms, they're opening up right across the street from the law office. She goes, maybe we could just move out there. We said, we could probably do that. I could get a transfer. And the plan was for me to continue at San Fernando as the youth pastor, and just really felt like God was saying, no, I'm moving you out. It's time for a change. And so we moved to Thousand Oaks, and we started attending the Assemblies of God church there. At that time, it was called New Hope Church. So I didn't go there, and I wasn't on staff. We were just attending there. But pretty soon the pastor learned that, okay, I was a licensed minister. I was a youth pastor. I did have all these experiences. So pretty soon they started having me doing stuff.
Yeah.
Small groups and things like that. And an opening came up on staff, and they asked me to join staff.
Wow.
And that was that was like 1998. 1999. And when he left to take another church, they interviewed a couple other people, and then they interviewed me, and they asked me to stay, and I've been the pastor there ever since.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. We have enjoyed it very much so.
So what In your experience, you can go back to your days in youth ministry or in your specific context you are in now. What is a major obstacle that you've had to overcome in leadership, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I would say um, the financial situation of this church when I became pastor.
Okay.
And, they they were leasing a building. They had sold their building. The desire was to, it was an old building,
Yeah.
and felt like there was some issues with it. The feeling was to get something a little more modern, something a little more upscale to appeal to. We are a very upscale community.
Yeah.
Something that would be have a little more curb appeal, as it were, something that would just be a better facility. And we rented from an office complex, and it was beautiful facilities, but it was very expensive. Very, very expensive. And when I became a pastor, our lease was about $15,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was about 70 people associated with the church, and it's
Wow.
like, the math never is going to add up here.
Doesn't work
This
out.
is not going to work. So to get out of the lease, to convince the people that this is the move that we had to make if we were going to survive, uh, that was probably one of the biggest challenges that I had. Um, so it took a while, and so the office complex, they did not want to let us out of our lease. They're like, you're on the hook here for 6 more years. We, we want our money, and it's like, well, you're not going to get anything, and no matter what we do. So we were able to reach some kind of agreement, and they let us out. But the challenge has been that no, we don't have our own building, and haven't had our own building for a good 8 years or so.
Wow.
8, yeah, 8 or 9 years. So those are the major challenges: the money situation when I took over, the building situation when I took over, and now the challenges are how do you make it work when you don't have your own building?
Wow. And what are some solutions you're seeing to that problem, or that you're trying to approach?
Well, we are happy. We've been in a couple of different places. We were in a hotel ballroom, which worked for a while, but I think they kept on raising the rents, change of ownership, where it wasn't a good working relationship. We spent like 4 years at another church, maybe 5 years at another church, and it was not in a good part of town. The building was not. It was hard to find. It was not taken care of very well. It was not a good mix. The congregations were not a good mix, and it was a real hindrance. So where we are now, we are centrally located in the city, in a we don't have like a downtown. This is suburban.
Yeah.
We don't have an old downtown, a central place. But where we are, we have one of the best well-known park. We have the public library. Where we meet is called a senior center, or the Global Adult Community Center, the teen center, and it's right across from all the soccer fields. So it's very central to the city. It's very well known to the city.
Okay.
And it's a much better facility. So that has helped tremendously. That we finally feel like we have a building that works. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
Struggle is Sunday school classes and things of that nature. We make it work, but it's not perfect.
Yeah.
But as far as the actual building, I came to the point other places I was, the other places we were, it's like, Lord, this is never going to work. After one Sunday morning, I'm like, God, I hate being here. And I thought, God said, well, then leave.
Yeah.
And it was as simple as that. It's like, oh, I guess I can. And it just happened to be the timing, because when we were looking before, this building was owned by not owned, it was being rented on Sunday mornings by the Unitarian Church.
Okay.
So they had left to get their own building, so the timing was right that it was open.
That's awesome.
So those are one of the challenges, is not having your own building.
Have you seen that affect your congregation in a positive or negative way? The moving around and uh,
Both,
yeah,
both, because everybody has a job.
yeah,
You know, Sunday morning, we bring everything in, set everything up,
wow,
tear it down. So we have plenty of jobs. So there is real ownership.
yeah,
Like this is what we do. We are very flexible. Um, we're very flexible. Some Sundays, like, okay, we can't be here. A couple times a year, we have to move and be some other place. So there's a great deal of flexibility, and there's a great deal of buy-in and participation and ownership. Um, the drawback, the negativity, is the fact that, okay, even to have anything during the week is a struggle.
wow,
You have to find a home. You have to find another room. Um, the buy-in is the negative is the feeling that, okay, we don't have a home.
yeah,
We don't really have anything to call our own. And there's even sometimes you deal with the kind of the mentality or the thought, well, we don't have our own building, so we're not a real church.
yeah,
But we are a real church. And so the thing that we really, I think, we have finally convinced people understand the church is not a building, the church is people.
yeah,
And we are God's people. And wherever we are, God's presence is.
yeah,
And we are in church. But it is a frustration because it's not your building. You don't have the control of it.
yeah,
So there are always things like this past Sunday we showed up, and because it is a community center, they had a big Halloween party the night before, and so there's all these Frankensteins and and all these things in the room that we use, and then they had broke a pipe, and so like some of the rooms we used for children's ministries were unavailable because they were flooded.
oh
So
wow.
it's like and those are kind of things you deal with.
You don't know about it till the day of.
You show up and there's stuff
Wow,
going on, and it's not your building. You don't have control. There are certain things you can't do, and it's a lot of work.
yeah,
The
wow,
positive is that we are visible in the community. People are able to see us, and we get quite a few visitors. Just people doing things in the park, doing things in the other community things that are there.
that's awesome. Um, Going on from that, what is one major success that you've had?
One major success that we had. Well,
Yeah.
that's a tough one. We did a relaunch. We did a relaunch because we did struggle. We struggled. Finances were always a struggle the whole time that I've been here, or with a building with a lease that was more than we could handle. And I would say one of the success was convincing people to make that move, but also convincing people to in a sense, um, make the move to a parent affiliated church,
Yeah.
where okay, we are giving up some control. We are giving up some identity, but we are also gaining people to partner with.
Yeah.
We are also gaining resources that are not available to us right now. And so we did that. We've been in that about a year and a half, and that there was some hesitation from people. They're like, well, we're losing our identity.
Yeah.
We're losing who we are. But some of the wonderful things that we've been able to do with our launch and outreaches that we were never able to do, and to see them be successful and see real tangible fruit
Yeah.
with families and people and connections and relationships, that it's been an overwhelming positive experience.
That's awesome.
So I would say one of the successes is going with mission
Yeah.
and leading that transition. And it was something that I was not sure that the board, because the board had to basically vote to fire themselves. Um,
Wow.
to give up control, and not everybody is willing to do that.
Yeah. I'd say
and
so.
to yeah, but it's one of those things of truly acknowledging the situation of where we were as a church, and that these are the steps that we need in order to not just scrape by, but to thrive and have
Yeah.
a real impact in our community.
Is there a plan to move out of the parent affiliate, or just finding where you're at right now?
Well, there are benchmarks because you do enter into an agreement with the parent affiliated church, and there are benchmarks. There are it's supposed to be at least a 3-year process before you evaluate whether to remain parent affiliated.
Okay.
Um, so there is a strategic plan, and part of the first 6 months was meeting with the parent church, and some of their things, and planning how are we going to build this thing? What are the steps to go forward? What are the steps? And the plan is, yes, to get healthy enough that you no longer have to have a parent.
Yeah.
Um, and they've changed it a little bit. Instead of being, we call it a network, instead of being district affiliated and controlled by the district. The plan is you go from being parent affiliated to being your own church or general church.
Yeah.
Where we keep changing the nomenclature,
Yeah.
but general. What is it now that they call it? We just changed it, but basically you are an autonomous church.
Yeah.
You
You're
are
on
a
your own.
healthy church. You're on your own. And so the plan is to move to that, and there are benchmarks that you have to follow, and there is a strategic plan to get us to that point.
Are they mostly financial or numeric?
Both. They're both. Yeah, those are the metrics. They are. You know, it is dependent upon growth. One of the ones that they made a lot is baptisms. They want to
Really?
see. They want to see a high number of baptisms, or they want to see a growth in that.
Is that so? They're saying authentic Christians is what they're saying with that.
Yes, what they are saying is that what they have found that if you are having a good steady number of baptisms, then you are growing.
Okay.
That numbers don't always tell the whole story, but that people who are taking that step to be baptized, that they are more connected to the church than just someone who shows up.
Yeah.
So yes, obviously one of the benchmarks is just Sunday morning attendance, but what they look at most is numbers of water baptisms.
That's awesome.
And then part of it is financial. Are
Yeah.
you paying your bills? Are you being self-sustaining? And really, right now we are. We have, they share some of the expenses, some of the office expenses, and some of these other expenses that have helped us bring our finances in line. So you do have to be financially healthy. You do have to demonstrate that, okay, if you cut the cord, as it were, you're not going to die. You're still going to be able to pay your bills.
Yeah.
You're still going to be able to function. So you do have to demonstrate both numerical growth and financial stability.
Okay. I didn't know that. What is one thing you wish that you understood before going into this leadership position?
Well, that's a tough one. That's a very tough one. Um, what is one thing that I wish I would have understood? I think I wish I would have understood how long it would take.
Wow. Yeah. Timeline.
Yeah, I wish I would have understood that. And I do wish I would have understood a little bit more organizational structure.
Inside the church or inside the Assemblies of God?
I would say inside the church, and establishing organizational structure and some of those things that are necessary for that.
With
But
with that, are you meaning your leadership over your staff, or with the board members, or
I'd say yes, all of those things.
okay.
All of those things.
And
Um,
how would you set it up now? If you could go back in, how would you set up your leadership structure to be most beneficial?
I think for a long time I tried to do it pretty much on my own. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, where you you do have volunteers, you do have people, but work at developing more of a team leadership,
Okay.
more of well, people give more responsibility to people, and if it sinks or swims, it sinks or
Yeah.
swims. You know, because there were times when both when I and my family, um, we carry too much of the burden
Yeah.
of the work. And that's part of being a pastor. Yes, you are always going to be more than the people sitting in the congregation. But there are times I do feel that it was detrimental to our family, just the level of responsibilities that we all had.
Yeah. So just
So
being
I
able
think I
to.
think that is one of the things that you say, okay, what do I wish I would have learned or known? Um, I I wish I would have learned to limit how much my family has to.
Okay, that's good. Then this is kind of the same question, but phrased a little differently. What is a piece of advice you would give to someone that is new to your field? So, entering into the type of work you do, what is one piece of nugget of wisdom you could pass down to them? Yeah.
Um, don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Be willing to ask for help. Be connected to people, and do have boundaries.
uh, Explain what you mean by boundaries.
Do have boundaries for your family.
Okay.
Do have yes. Do have boundaries for your family. Do learn to say no. Learn very much. I mean, especially for young pastors, you get in and you have a passion for God. You have a passion for God's kingdom, and you care about people,
Yeah.
and you want to do everything. You know, you want to do everything, and you sometimes pastors have a real problem saying no, and it's somewhat of a cliche, but it is very, very true. To, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
So learning to say no so that you can say yes to something else is, I think, one of the most crucial things for young pastors to learn.
That's good. That's really good. Um.
And learn your gifts.
Yeah.
Learn your gifts and develop them to the best of your ability. And find people to help you with the things that you're not strong in.
Strengthen your
But
strengths. Find people to strengthen your weaknesses.
yes, but work real hard at developing your strengths.
Mm, that's good. That's really good advice. Um. Then what is the biggest motivator of the people that you lead?
I'm not sure I know what you're asking.
Say, like whenever you said referenced earlier that you had to have the board members almost vote to fire themselves.
Yes.
That takes a certain level of vision casting, a certain
Yes.
level of motivation to convince someone to do that. What are good motivators to get people to accomplish things that you're the vision caster, you're trying to take them to
Yes.
the next level. How do you take them there?
You you need to have enough information. You need to have information. You need to convince people. They need to see how important it is for people to come to know Jesus Christ. You know, I'm talking
Yeah.
about being a pastor and leading a church.
Yeah.
Um, you need to make them uncomfortable with the level of of lack of biblical knowledge, with the lack of kingdom of God in their own community.
Yeah.
You need to make them understand that people are precious to God and that they're, one of the things that I felt was the most motivating is, just doing some of the demographic studies and saying, this is our community, this is our neighborhood, this is how many people are in a 3-mile radius of where we meet. And even in our community, and you can say that there are churches, there are plenty of churches in town, some of them are large, some of them are small, but that there are 55,000 people in our community who never had, who have no real knowledge of who Jesus Christ is.
Wow. Yeah.
And when you put it in those stark contrasts, that there are 55,000 people in our community who've never been to a church, who have no knowledge of, no experiential knowledge, have never really had anybody sit down there and talk to them about Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It is 4 out of 10 in the United States now have no knowledge of God, have no experience with God, have no church experience, are completely unchurched, know nothing about the Bible, know nothing about Jesus. And when 4 out of 10, and so our community, that is 55,000 people who know nothing about Jesus.
Wow. It's motivating.
That is a motivator. It's like, it's a harvest field. And you need to understand, we may be a small church, we're not a large church, but there are people in your neighborhood who need Jesus.
Yeah.
So that is our motivator.
It's
our motivator, is that
having the vision of seeing the lost saved.
Having a vision, and we have focused, and there have been a number of churches that have opened since we've done our relaunch, and they start out with a lot more people than we are, but they're all people from other churches.
Yeah.
They're all transfer growth. And we don't want to be a church of transfer growth.
Yeah.
We're happy to have anybody.
Any helper.
But we want people who have no knowledge of God to find God.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That is written into our vision. That's written into our mission. Is we want to focus on ministering to unchurched people. That to bring people who are far from God into the knowledge of God.
That's awesome. And then, final question. What has been the most rewarding experience for you as a leader?
For me, it's always seeing transformation in people.
Yeah.
It's always seeing transformation in people. And it's great to have a big event. And it's always, it's exciting, and to see people come and see people interacting. But what really thrills me is to see life transformation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's to see life transformation. That's the thing that just thrills me. That to me is like, okay, it was worth it.
Yeah.
That's worth the frustrations. That's worth, sometimes the financial sacrifice.
Yeah.
Is that you see people's lives that are completely changed. And when you see them growing in Christ, and you see them reaching out to people, you see controlling things in their life that are no longer controlling their life. To me, that's the number one thing. That's the big thing.
Yeah. Well,
that's the thing that thrills me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and
absolutely. I hope it was helpful, and
it was very helpful.
Work out for you and for me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing it last minute and being available, and
no problem.
You did a great job. So.
All right. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you so much.
Nice talking to you, and nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you as well. I'll see you.
Have a good evening.
You too.